All right, let's do this. But you must understand that Bill Lazarus worked in my band. There was a nightclub, while this was still going on, there was a nightclub called the Crossbow in Van Nuys, which is now a lumber company. And Bill played in our band. Glenn Campbell and I, when we left the Champs, formed our own group. Bill Lazarus played in that band. And a lot of times, Bill would talk that night about the album, what we did, and what the name of the album is, and see who could outdo each other to come up with the most insane title of a song. Now, if I ever had to go back and find a song to try to promote my songs for another, I'd have to listen to the entire album to find a song, because if it went by title other than vocal, lyric things that I wrote, the instrumentals was up for grabs, and it would fall down, the letters, well, that we can make something. But the titles were titles. They're titles we kind of would try and fix that they would go with the mode of the album.
Jerry and I, like I say, we would do a song, there was a pop tune, something hot on the charts, but they would play the same chords to that song, but they would introduce them differently to make it sound different. But chords are chords. It's not a case of you're stealing anything, because a chord is a chord. The melodies would be different because there's 8 notes to every chord that you can play, and Jerry would just invent the melodies as he went along.
When we did that album, you certainly couldn't play it, which was done. So instead, and the basic, and try and create the sound as close as we could to them. And again, some of the recording stuff, you would have to deliberately distort maybe the bass a little bit, distort the drums a little bit, to try and get close to those sounds. Someplace there's an album that we did a cover on a Stones album. So we used the lick, because you can't copyright the lick, and wrote a song around it. That was the song from This Will Be the Last Time. And basically, not stealing, just borrowing from some very good people. And it worked. I don't care where it is, if it's in Worcester Park, Arkansas, or Nome, Alaska, or San Francisco, or Houston, Texas. Somebody will walk up and say, God, I've got 2 3-year albums. I said, oh, really? Got the Capitol? No. Wait a minute. Crown album. I'm going, oh, you got that album? Do you like it? Oh yeah, good album. Really nice. It was country stuff, and there was some disco stuff, and I like the guitar work in it, like this. And it'll haunt you. I don't care where you go, what you do. Somebody somewhere has got a bunch of 80 albums that Jerry Cole worked on, and still have them, and are happy. They're happy campers. They got it. They love what they were doing, and it works. So you go back, and hindsight is a very poor virtue as far as saying, if I had to do it over again, would I have done this? Would I have thrown myself out into the market saying, well, maybe someday you might be a real superstar, and this stuff is going to come back to haunt you? To which I say, no. At the time that I did it, it was a real important learning thing for me. It was a great experience to work with a record company, to see something like that I had never seen before. For a young, dumb kid who knew nothing, to come in and have the opportunity to work with guys who were pros. No. I think what I did at the time, when I did it, where I did it, how I did it, was all for a reason. And I can't see anything here that I'd have to hide my face and say, gee, I don't want anybody to know. I did them. Some of them are exceptionally good, some of them mediocre, and depending on the time frame, some of them, And a lot of them were cut mono, and which is called a dummy stereo master, where you put bass on one side and put the bass and drums on here where it sounds bottomy, and you put this on the other side, the guitar's trebly, and you put the voice in the middle, and it sounds like it's stereo, but it isn't. It's mono. Another trick, another Bill Lazarus little trick. This guitar has been on more hit records. It's been painted about 7 different times. B.B. King has got his guitar named. This has always been called the Black Beauty. It's been around the world about 25 times, and it has, as of last report, I believe Hal Blaine played on 158 records that were gold or platinum, Carol Kay, 161, and Jerry Cole has played on around, last count was 147 albums that have been gold and platinum, which this bugger right here has been quite instrumental in putting together, and has been with me longer than any living thing that I know of.
You know, there's a couple hot rod albums that have this like incredibly distinctive, weird sound to them. You know,
Can't do it without the effects. Can't.
what was the effect that you used back then?
That I used. One of them is a phase shifter, and the other is a flanger put together. I can't even get close to it. That's close to it. Some of the hot rod albums that we did, we would have to try and get some unique sounds. And this was one of the sounds that we used for it.
Sorry, you have to turn that amp down. It's way too loud.
Sure. Play it. I play it now. All right.
Everybody looking?
Can you just kind of noodle around a little on the guitar and talk at the same time so we can hear that?
I can walk, play guitar, and chew bubblegum at the same time, man. That was a soundtrack from a song called The Stinger, which we wanted it to sound like a stinger.
Can you sang on Hot Rod album?
Pardon me?
You sang on several Hot Rod albums.
The Hot Rod album? Sure. Let's see. We did, I did the bass voice on That's My Job Then, Bob, 74. And so on and so forth.
Higher voice, too, on some, didn't you?
On some of them, I did a cover. Little soft girl, brother, boy, you would make my... Yeah, did a lot of high voices, a lot of medium voices, and
How's the medium voice sound?
medium voice is good. That works. She walked in and my heart walked away. Going back to doing Latin albums.
How about some Mexicali brass? Can you do any of that?
Mexicali brass. Mexicali brass also did.
Tell me some of the famous groups you guys do sound alikes for.
Well, first of all, it's very interesting because I actually played with them, and I don't know if they got the idea from me or what, but there was a record and there was a group that went. which was now it's being seen on television for everybody to know how that trick was done, and that's not fair. Some of the groups, for example, we did albums that were supposed to represent like the Stones. So I had to get as close to the Stones as I could get. Huh?
Play each lick a little longer.
Sure.
Do that one again.
Oh. So they asked me to do an album that sounded like the Stones. So we had to try and come up with the album sound that would go like the Stones, like. I can't get no. That was one sound. Then we did an album when the 12-string and the Birds were very happening, which I happened to play on that album. But this is not a 12-string guitar, but I think the effect you'll understand. Which was rather an interesting and a lot of selling record.
How about Do the Beatles?
Doing the Beatles. All right. To try and get some of the Beatles sounds, they had all the facilities in every guitar in the world, a Gretsch, and which made the big hits. But some of the licks that were rather important to Harrison's stuff. Or we'd play it. And we doctored the sound up through filters to try and get as close as we could to the sound on the record. Now, a lot of times, if there were no steel guitar on the date, I would have to play steel guitar.
Jerry, 1 second, sorry.
Well, sometimes we do an album, and they decided right then and there they wanted a steel guitar on it, and there wasn't one in the building. So we would have to be kind of creative and go. Which,
Did you ever do sitar?
not with this particular guitar. I have a sitar. That's one of the few things I have. I have an electric sitar, and I had dobro in those days. So some of the stuff that we did, I did use sitar on. Vinnie Bell, electric sitar, and a National dobro. Some of the stuff, some of the country stuff that was done on dobro, instead of, I would use steel for steel guitar, and this glass for glass.